Was it smart or was it dumb to let Jaquiski Tartt walk?
No problem with letting Jaquiski Tartt walk. He's 30. He's a DB. He's not injury prone, but he's not particularly durable. He's not a playmaker. I think he's totally replaceable. My issue was the Niners didn't replace him.
Yep.
They didn't draft a safety. I mean, they signed a dude who's like an all-pro special teamer, not a safety, and they basically said Talanoa is our guy. But this is the same team that a few years ago said Adrian Colbert's our guy. I wish they would have hedged their bets and just drafted a safety. They didn't even have to do it in round 2, but they didn't draft one at all. They signed Leon O'Neal Jr. Leon O'Neal Jr., who's on Twitter saying he's going to make the team. I'd like to see him like do something first, but yeah.
How has he been? I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Leon O'Neal Jr.
I mean,
How's he been?
I've seen like 4 or 5 practices. I haven't seen him do anything yet. So hold on. But it's like in OTAs and minicamp, they don't do one-on-ones. One-on-ones are it's like a moment of truth. And if DBs can't hold up, it doesn't mean that they're not good. But if he can like win one-on-one in those drills, I'm watching. I'm noticing. That's why I always liked Welly, because that was his drill. I mean, he would win. Also, use check. You cannot stop use check in the one-on-ones. Kittle's also excellent in those. So we shall see how he does. But like I watched Talanoa last year in those one-on-ones. Not good. Not good. But the Niners are all about not putting him in man-to-man cover situations, putting Ward in those situations, and just having Hufanga play like single high, basically zone stuff. Well, what if Ward gets hurt? Ward's 30, 31. I mean, the safety position is thin, big time thin. And so, like, again, I don't have a problem letting Tartt go, but where was the draft pick? I'm sorry. Where was the draft pick?
Where was the draft pick? Or even Baymax says it, right?
Tartt was drafted a running back in round 3. What?
I still don't. I mean, I've heard some good things about Ty Davis Price, but I was about to go eat dinner, and I Niners were picking, and then I saw a running back, and I'm like, dude, what are we doing, right? Because the Niners have a bunch of deaths at running back.
Yeah.
Right, Hasty, Wilson, Mitchell,
and running backs
Sherman.
It doesn't, right? Like Elijah Mitchell was a 6th-round pick last year. You don't have to do it. And every time the Niners make this big swing and a big investment in a running back, it never pays off. Jerick McKinnon, Joe Williams. It's like, why? The safety is like a very important position. The safety is a player who plays 100% of your snaps, not a running back. You know what I mean? That's one way to look at it. Your starting strong safety plays 100% of the snaps. He better be good. It's a passing league. You got the Cardinals in your division playing 3-4 receivers every snap. Every snap. I don't know, man. I don't get it. But we shall see.
I mean, Baymax says Tartt was boring. Wish you got the Honey Badger to make this team historic. But oh well, man, I would love to see Honey Badger on this team, right? But obviously the Niners didn't do that. I know, but I mean, even the price, right? Like, I thought he was going to get, 50 mil, 60 mil. He only got, 30 million, 37 million.
He would have been an excellent addition to me, but no. Yeah, the Niners are still trying to get a 7th-round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo.
If the Niners cutter did whatever with Jimmy released him, you could have signed Badger, and then imagine Honey Badger and Jimmy Ward side by side. Like, I mean, that solves your problems right there. And he didn't get, and he got an affordable contract.
It seems like the teams that really are trying to win a Super Bowl made all-in moves. Like, the Saints got they got Honey Badger and Jarvis Landry, right?
Yeah,
not messing around. Like the
Chargers.
But the Raiders were 10-7 last year. They went and got Devontae Adams. Okay, and Chandler. They got Chandler Jones too.
Chandler Jones next to Max.
Okay, so those are like, hey, we're on the cusp. We're not messing around. The Niners were like, we're on the cusp, and we're messing around. We're still trying to trade Jimmy Garoppolo, and like we're just gonna get Charvarius Ward and Stan Pat. Like what? I'm sorry. A lot of other teams that went 10-7 or slightly worse or slightly better, much more aggressive this year. And the last 2 Super Bowl winners were extremely aggressive that offseason. Were rewarded for it. I don't understand why the Niners. Well, I do understand. They're being freaking overly cautious, bordering on cowardly, because Trey is their new
Yeah,
guy.
I think same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they're just a little bit worried because they don't know how Trey will be, and obviously they're a little bit worried. So I mean, if Trey balls out this year, and obviously a lot of Niners fans expect us to make the playoffs if we don't get injured. I mean, but I think the Niners, if Trey Lance balls out, and we expect Trey Lance to, Trey Lance will have his downs. He'll obviously have his ups and he'll have his downs. He'll make his mistakes, but at the same time, if Trey Lance is what we all expect Trey Lance to be, I think the Niners, if they didn't go in this offseason, I think if Jimmy's gone next year, I think they're probably gonna go all in next season.
That's I agree, but I feel like what the Niners are saying is like they're using the wrong part of their brain. I mean, what they're saying is like, look, he didn't play last year. He didn't play the year before that. He went to Division II school. Like he's a first-year starter. He's 22. Look at historic precedent. It's unrealistic to expect him to take us to a Super Bowl victory, given all that. But what I would say is, you really think he's worse than Jimmy? There's no way he's a downgrade from what you had last year. And if you could go that far twice with that, mediocrity is a generous thing to say about that guy. You can do better with 22-year-old inexperienced Trey Lance. Come on, have some guts and go all in and help him out. Don't have the money that you should be investing in your team sitting as the backup quarterback. I was interviewing a guy, like I write for Fan Nation, part of on Sports Illustrated. I do the Niners site. I interviewed the Browns guy today. And I was like, so a lot of people speculating in the debate that the Niners are going to trade Jimmy to Cleveland. What do you think of that? He's like, yeah, I think that could definitely happen. If the Niners take Baker Mayfield back, I'd rather just cut Jimmy. Like, what do you need Baker for? What?
I don't want Baker Mayfield.
No, what are you doing? You should not be spending that money on Trey's backup, because what that says is you don't believe in Trey. What you need to do is spend the money on the offensive line. Spend it on the freaking, show not just Trey, the team and the world that you believe in them, because you really haven't done it yet. You really haven't.
I mean, the Niners are just being precautious, but I mean, I agree with you in that aspect of, like, you made it that far with Jimmy G. You did, right? You made it to the NFC Championship game last year with Jimmy G with an injured thumb, not 100% healthy. You made it to the NFC Championship
in spite
game,
of him,
and then you made it with the Super Bowl, and you made it to the Super Bowl in 2019.
In spite of him,
yeah. So unless, like, I mean, unless we're not knowing
in the
anything,
NFC Championship game and won 8. I mean,
yep. So smarter done to let Tartt walk. I mean, that's a tough one, right? Because from what I've seen from Talanoa Hufanga last year, it was rough. It was rough, especially in coverage. It was not pretty. It was rough.
Smart to let him walk, dumb not to replace him.
Burned.
George Odom is not a replacement.
I don't think he's a replacement.
That's a special teams addition.
Yep. Hopefully Talanoa Hufanga pans out. But like I agree with Baymack. I would have probably gone for Tyrann Mathieu, but obviously the Niners aren't big spenders. They don't go out and get those superstar players. So really, I didn't expect that from the Niners. Obviously, I wish the Niners did that, but I don't expect that from the Niners. But I mean, that safety position is a liability, because if Talanoa Hufanga doesn't pan out and he's not what the Niners expect him to be, then you're kind of screwed at the safety position, right? Except for Jimmy Ward, right? So like, I mean, it's a smart move. I would say it's a smart move if Talanoa Hufanga, is what the Niners expect him to be, but it's probably a dumb move if Talanoa Hufanga isn't great. And especially because if you didn't draft a safety, and George Odom, I really don't think he's the answer. Like you said, I think he's a special teams guy. I don't think he's the answer at safety. Even in Indianapolis, he wasn't the starting safety. He just wasn't.
But again, the Niners could have signed Tartt as depth. Like the Niners are one injury away to Jimmy Ward having George Odom out there, or Tarvarius Ward. So yeah, I mean, they're gonna regret letting Tartt walk because they didn't replace him. I don't think Odom qualifies. I could be totally wrong. I just don't think he does.